Good morning.
Good morning.
If everyone could take their seats, we're going to go ahead and get started. Breonna Taylor, a 26-year-old black ER technician, was fatally shot in Kentucky when unannounced police officers forcefully entered her apartment, shooting 32 rounds of ammunition, killing her in her home, a place that is supposed to be safe. Good morning and welcome to today's signing event. Please join me in a very brief moment of silence in honor of Breonna Taylor. Thank you. Welcome to our guests, legislators, the family of Breonna Taylor, and all those who are joining virtually. My name is Dr. Janice Underwood, and I serve as Chief Diversity Officer to Governor Northam. This is a historical event for Virginia that shows us that we have a lot to learn from Breonna Taylor, a healthcare worker from Kentucky who spent her life caring for others. Well, today we are showing how much we care about Breonna Taylor and 8.4 million of Virginians. So we stand here today somewhat reassured and in solidarity with Breonna Taylor, who is undoubtedly with us in spirit, that going forward, the Commonwealth of Virginia, only the third state in the nation, has taken a bold stand against no-knock warrants, an institutional mechanism that disproportionately terrorizes people of color. Virginia is getting it right. I thank my colleague, Secretary Moran and his team, our legislators, Delegate Aird and Senator Locke, and the governor for their bold actions today, which include hearing from protesters over the summer in a series of listening sessions that informed our historic law enforcement reform package, Breonna Taylor Law, which prohibits the execution of no-knock warrants. It is a step in the right direction to provide alternative methods to ensure everyone's safety. In particular, as a black woman, I stand here saying her name, Breonna Taylor. I'm going to say it again, Breonna Taylor.
Breonna Taylor.
Now I have the distinct honor to introduce our next speaker. Governor Northam is someone who is walking the talk. He brings to this work his experience as a former Army doctor, a pediatric neurologist, a business owner, a state senator, and the former lieutenant governor. Governor Ralph Northam, the 73rd governor of Virginia, has a heart for all people, especially those who have been historically marginalized and underrepresented. And it is this love for all Virginians, in particular, that guides every decision he makes. Please welcome the 73rd governor, Governor Ralph Northam.
Well, thank you and good morning. Over the last few months, we have held lots of ceremonies to enact new laws. That's why we're here again today. But today is not a cause for celebration. Today is a somber occasion. I want to acknowledge Bianca Austin and Tahasha Holloway. They have joined us here today from their home in Kentucky, and on behalf of the Commonwealth and on behalf of Breonna, thank you so much. Please give them a hand. Thank you. We were able to spend some time this morning, and they told me the story of their beloved niece, Breonna Taylor. Miss Austin and Miss Holloway are good and decent people. They never wanted the notoriety for their family. Like most of us, they simply wanted to live in peace. But today, all of America knows the story of their beloved niece, Breonna Taylor. We're here today because when the country saw what happened in March, people said, that's wrong. You need to do something. I want you to know that we are taking action here in Virginia. Today, we're taking a step forward to making sure other families don't suffer the same loss as your family. This new law bans the use of no-knock search warrants. Virginia becomes the first state to take this action since Breonna's death in March. This is the right thing to do. Only 3 states have this law, and more needed. We know, of course, that nothing will bring back Breonna Taylor, or George Floyd, or Ahmaud Arbery, or Jacob Blake, or Trayvon Martin, or Michael Brown, or so many others. But we honor them when we act. We honor them when we change laws, and we honor them when we continue the work. 2020 has been a tumultuous year for everyone. The pandemic has shone a spotlight on long-standing inequity, and acts of violence sparked urgent calls for change. A lot of people heard that call this year and understood it. It's past time we take action to make our systems more equitable. In Virginia, we bear a special responsibility to do this. From the earliest days, Virginia shaped America's highest aspirations of freedom and democracy. And from our earliest days, our laws also shaped an economy based on enslaving men, women, and children. 401 years later, in Virginia, we continue to struggle with the burden of our complicated past. But we're taking steps forward, and we are working to make our systems work better and treat everyone more fairly, especially in our criminal justice system. This year, we passed sweeping new laws to reform policing in Virginia. We reduced the militarization of local policing. We strengthened training and discipline. We limited the use of neck restraints. We brought the community into the process, and more. And I want everyone to understand that these are not anti-police measures. These are pro-people laws. They're about making our justice system fairer and more equitable. And they're about rebuilding trust between our law enforcement and the communities they serve. So I want to thank Delegate Aird and Senator Mamie Locke and their colleagues who pushed for this new law to become reality. And I also want to thank everyone here for working to make our system better and to make sure that stories like Breonna's do not go unheard. Most of all, I want you to know that Virginia grieves together with you and with Breonna's mother, Tamika Palmer, and father, Everett Taylor. Now I'd like to ask Senator Mamie Locke to share a few words. Senator Locke.
Good morning.
Good morning.
To Governor Northam, Dr. Underwood, Mr. Crump, Breonna's family, and to all of you. One of my sheroes was the late, great Fannie Lou Hamer. And when asked at the age of 46 why she decided to become involved with the civil rights movement and risk her life in doing so, she simply said, "I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired." And there comes a point in our lives where we simply become sick and tired of being sick and tired. And in Virginia, we simply reached that point. We had begun the process of engaging in some criminal justice reform during the 2020 session. But then, Ahmaud Arbery, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor. You know, you can't shop while black. You can't run while black. You can't even sleep while black. Yeah. And then when we started the special session, our motives were questioned. why are you doing this? Why are you dealing with something, happened 1,200 miles away in Minneapolis, something that happened in Louisville, Kentucky, something that happened in Georgia? Why are you even bothering with this stuff? This stuff didn't happen in Virginia. Virginia is not immune to injustice. And when injustice happened in Louisville, Kentucky, on a no-knock warrant, that did not mean that Virginia was immune to the same injustice, to the same inequality. It could also happen here in Virginia, and we do not want what happened to Breonna to also happen here in Virginia, because Breonna is me. Breonna is LaSharice Aird. Breonna is Janice Underwood. We need to say her name. We can't have this to continue to happen to African American women and men across this country. We cannot. We cannot. So we began to address the problems that existed in the criminal justice system and decided, we're not just going to start to talk about it. We listened to the community. We did these community sessions and community conversations with individuals across the Commonwealth in every Senate district that we served. And at the top of their list was no-knock warrants. You must address that issue as a part of your police and reform packages, as a part of criminal justice reform. And so we did. It became a comprehensive piece of legislation on the Senate side. Delegate Aird addressed it as a solo piece of legislation on the House side. So many states had already started to look at these issues, but we said we need to delve deep into this issue and address criminal justice reform comprehensively. The governor has already talked about some of the things that we decided to do. But we also know that we can't just look at police and reform in isolation, that we have to continue to take public input and work with stakeholders on all of the wraparound issues that are problematic in our communities, that have led to the kind of things that happened in Louisville, that happened in Minneapolis, that happened in Georgia, that we have to also look at healthcare. We have to look at universal pre-K. We have to look at affordable and quality housing. We have to look at food access. We're not going to be able to truly bring anything to closure until we look at all of the issues that led to that night in Louisville, Kentucky. So we're sorry that you have to be here for this, but we know that we're going to wrap our hands around all of the things that led to what happened to Breonna. We know that we are, and we know that we can only do it if we do it together.
Thank you, Sam. I'd now like to welcome to the podium Delegate LaSharice Aird. Delegate Aird, thank you.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Again, I'm LaSharice Aird, and it is truly an honor to be here with all of you for such a historic occasion. Today is a commemoration of the life of Breonna Taylor. Today is recognition of the end of a practice that has put the lives of law enforcement and those they come in contact with at risk. And today is validation for the many leaders and advocates that took to the streets right here in the Commonwealth of Virginia to fight for the change that we will make today. Today's efforts are truly the result of law enforcement who we value and appreciate, advocates and elected leaders working together for the benefit of Virginians. When the governor called the special session back in July to address critical criminal justice reforms, I can recall vividly the immediate sense of urgency I felt to eliminate this racially disparate, deadly practice of the use of no-knock search warrants. Since the 70s, communities of color have borne the brunt of police misconduct. And as a Commonwealth, as we strive to reckon with our own racial history and racial past, we had a tremendous opportunity to move forward and seize this opportunity to fundamentally reshape policing in a way that would ensure law enforcement protects and serves all communities equally. As a young woman, as a Black woman, as a mom of 2 young boys, the decision to patron House Bill 5099 was deeply personal to me. It was personal because around our country, throughout Louisville, right here in the Commonwealth of Virginia, you have young girls, Black women wondering, do their lives matter? Wondering, are their lives of value? And we can't fault them for asking those questions because there are signals that are suggesting perhaps this might be the case, including the fact that since March, we have been in the pursuit of justice for Breonna Taylor, and it has still yet to come. But what I will say is that in the Commonwealth of Virginia, today with the signing of House Bill 5099, I proudly affirm, as a woman, as a Black woman, as a leader, that Black women and Black girls, their lives do matter. Breonna Taylor's life did matter, and it was of value. It is of value. And not only that, but simply put, as human beings, as citizens, everyone's life should matter. You should be free of someone with civil rights and civil liberties to not have to worry about a forced entry raid into your sacred home. No one should have that concern. So despite those that stood against this bill, did not know the name of Breonna Taylor, did not know about this egregious practice that has been happening for decades, today we win. Today, advocates win. Today, Virginia will join only 2 other states in completely banning the use of no-knock search warrants. But Virginia will be the first to do so in the namesake of Breonna Taylor. In the dark of the night, without even a moment's notice, we lost Breonna Taylor. There are no words or actions that will bring her back. But today, as we await true justice, it is my hope that this bill signing will represent and offer even a small glimmer of justice for Breonna Taylor. Because not only will the lives of Virginians be protected that much more, her name will permeate every corner of this Commonwealth until the end of time and will rest among our history books forever. Say her name, Breonna Taylor.
Breonna Taylor.
It is now my honor to welcome a man who has been fighting in this fight for the family since day one, has been an advocate against these injustices throughout our entire country, Attorney Ben Crump.
And Governor, I'm gonna stand back and take off my mask because I think what you all have done here today is significant. And I want to make sure I am clear on the record of recording this for historical purposes, this day, this hour, this moment. And I am so very grateful, Governor Northam, and your beautiful bride, Virginia's First Lady, for being so hospitable to Breonna's family and us this morning before this ceremony. It was not lost on us, your sensitivity and your sincereness. And I want to thank you, Governor Northam, and the leadership and Delegate Aird, as well as Senator Locke, and all the leadership of the Commonwealth of Virginia for helping to make a more just society, a more just America, one where George Floyd has an opportunity to breathe without a knee on his neck, one where Ahmaud Arbery gets to run free and not be lynched for jogging while black in broad daylight, and one where Breonna Taylor gets to sleep in peace without the police busting in her door. And I am especially grateful to these strong sisters who led the effort, and Delegate Aird and Senator Locke, in the passage of HB 5099, Breonna's Law, because with the passage of Breonna's Law, we will be guaranteed that no black woman in the state of Virginia, no black person in the state of Virginia, or no person at all in the state of Virginia will be killed like Breonna was taken away from us by the execution of a no-knock warrant in the dark of the midnight hour while she was home sleeping in her bed. Can you imagine the fear that went through Breonna's heart when she was suddenly awakened by somebody busting in their front door? And so I thank you again, Governor, for your bold and courageous leadership. I thank you, Delegate Aird, for your visionary leadership. I thank you, Senator Locke, for your diplomacy and great wisdom in helping get this law across the line. I thank the Virginia Black Caucus on behalf of the family and my great co-counsels, Lanita Baker and Sam Aguiar. I thank the Virginia Democratic Caucus. We thank all of the advocates and activists, those young people who came out and protested and exercised their First Amendment rights. And most importantly, Governor Northam, they came out in the midst of a pandemic and risked their health and their life to make sure they voted because Breonna Taylor life matters. I also thank the law enforcement officers and leadership who worked with these great elected officials to help HB 5099 become a reality. And I would be remiss if I did not thank Alan Williams and Ms. Bell for working so hard to make sure that Breonna's family arrived here today. And I remember Alan Williams when we talked to Delegate Aird, because you have to understand, far too often black women don't get the attention and recognition that others get, not even brothers get, when they are killed in this manner. And so Bianca, her aunt, God knows before Lanita and Sam and I got involved, was out there fighting every day to say that Breonna mattered, that Breonna was special. Her little sister and her mother, Tamika Palmer, they called to the Louisville Police Department every day asking for answers. Every day, her little sister Janiyah posted on social media that Breonna Taylor was my sister and she was special and that she mattered. But nobody was listening, Madam First Lady, and so I was calling everybody, and one of the people Alan told me to call was this young lady in Virginia who I'm told was the youngest person to be elected as a delegate, and that she can help make it important in Virginia. And so I'm so grateful that you took the call and that you said that Breonna Taylor matters in Virginia as well. And I think about the arguments, Dr. Underwood, that I heard happen where people said in Virginia, nobody had been killed by a no-knock warrant. And I love you and Senator Locke's passionate response. Why should we have to wait until we have a Breonna Taylor in Virginia before we pass responsible legislation to prevent a Breonna Taylor from happening in Virginia? And that was better than any lawyer could have argued. So I thank you all for being lawyers in the legislative halls. And your leadership, Governor, your leadership with the passage of Breonna's law will help to allow us, hopefully, to celebrate more live black bodies and hopefully have to mourn less dead black bodies from being taken from this earth way too soon because of excessive use of force by the very individuals who are supposed to protect and defend them. You know, I was talking to then Senator Kamala Harris, as you remember Bianca and Tamika, you all talked with her, and we were talking about Senator Locke. How does something like this happen? And I remember concluding with her, it happens, Governor, when we don't have responsible leadership being proactive. So today, you all are to be applauded for having responsible leadership and being proactive so we won't have to see a tragedy like this in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Because Martin Luther King said, the coward asked the question, is it safe? Then he said expediency asked the question, is it politically correct? And then Alan, he said, vanity comes along and asks the question, is it popular? But Dr. Underwood, Dr. King concluded, conscience comes along and asks the question, is it right? And Reverend Drumright, Dr. King concluded that there comes a time when one must take a position that's neither popular nor politically correct or not even safe, but one must take a position because their conscience tells them it is the right thing to do. I submit to you all, it is the right thing to do to speak up for all of our children, to stand up for all of our children, to fight for all of our children. Because if we don't stand up for our children, it begs the question, Governor, who will stand up for our children? If we don't speak up for our children, Bianca, it begs the question, who will speak up for our children? And if we don't fight for our children, Senator Aird, it begs the question, who will fight for our children? So I am so thankful that you all in the state of Virginia stood up for Breonna Taylor and her legacy. And finally, and I'm doing this for Tamika Palmer, Breonna's mother. Kentucky Attorney General Daniel Cameron will not define the legacy of Breonna Taylor. Her legacy will be defined by her mother, Tamika Palmer, her aunts, Bianca and Tahasha, her sister, Janiyah, and their family. Breonna Taylor's legacy will be defined by people of goodwill. Breonna Taylor's legacy will be defined by people who believe in due process of the law. Breonna Taylor's legacy will be built on a foundation brick by brick. The constituency of Breonna Taylor's legacy will be made state by state. And the policy defining Breonna Taylor's legacy will be cast vote by vote. And therefore, Breonna Taylor's name will be remembered throughout the history of the United States of America. So, if you would, so her mother could hear us back in Kentucky say her name. Breonna Taylor, say her name. Breonna Taylor, say her name. Breonna Taylor. Thank you, Governor.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Crump, on behalf of Breonna Taylor's family and on behalf of Virginia and on behalf of this country, I just want to thank you and commend you for all that you've done, and really appreciate you being here today. You didn't have to be here, I know that, but you made your way here, and I just thank you so much, and I appreciate your powerful words. I'd like to end the speaking with Miss Austin and Miss Holloway. They are the aunts of Breonna Taylor, and they have come to be with us from Louisville, Kentucky, and please offer them the warm welcome of Virginia. Thank you.
I don't know how I'm gonna follow him, but okay, I'll do my best. But good morning, everyone. Peace and love to everyone that's here and that's out here watching and that's back home. As you know, my name is Bianca Austin. This is Tahasha Holloway, and we are the aunts of Queen Breonna Taylor. We are here today in Richmond, Virginia, for this historic induction of Breonna Taylor's law. Even though it is quite heartbreaking as to the tragedy that brought us all here today, it's an honor to be here, to know that Virginia know the importance of banning no-knock warrants. Because we all know that no-knock warrants is definitely detrimental and destructive to Black lives. We, Breonna Taylor family, we are so grateful and honored for these gestures and these laws, but let us not forget that Breonna Taylor still needs justice. You know, justice for Breonna Taylor is making sure that these officers are fired, arrested, charged, and convicted for their unlawful entry to her home on March 13th. That's justice for Breonna. You know, no-knock warrants is, you know, it's really important, and it's an essential law because you can't mistreat these laws anymore. Like, it should be banned because it's something that it can't be mistreated anymore. And it's callous to saving our citizens, not only the citizens of Virginia, but the citizens around the world. And we just really want to spend a special thank you to Delegate Aird. We just really appreciate you. Thank you for continuing to apply pressure on the representatives to get this law changed. Thank you for showing everyone the importance of Breonna's tragic story, and that letting people know that this isn't right and it's wrong and it's just the right thing to do. Thank you, Senator Locke. Thank you for just being a voice and being that pillar of a Black woman. Having like people as myself to look up to, and it's okay to be angry. It's okay to be an angry Black woman, and teach us how to portray ourselves as an angry Black woman, and not the person that the world sees us as, that angry Black woman. And thank you for that. Governor Northam, thank you. You and your wife, First Lady, just thank you all so much. You're such a sweetheart. But thank you for using your power in the right way.
Amen.
Thank you for taking that power and just using it in the right light and being on the right side of this fight for justice for Breonna Taylor. Thank you for listening to our voices. Thank you for being transparent. And that it just says a lot about what kind of a leader you are for your state of Virginia. So we thank you very much for that. And we hope this encourages, you know, other states to get on board with passing this no-knock warrant. And, you know, we hope this people can follow, you know, Virginia footsteps in the right direction, and just ban no-knock warrants across the United States, period. And I must recognize one of our very own, Couture Heron of Louisville, Kentucky. She's a policy strategist, and she designed Breonna's law, and she originally got it passed back in Louisville. And she's looking forward to taking that law to the Senate. and the Supreme Court. And hopefully Kentucky can step up to the plate and follow what Virginia's doing here. And even though my sister Tamika Palmer couldn't be here today, she sends her gratitude to all of you honoring Breonna and seeing the importance of saving others' lives and to prevent the next little girl or the next little person from such a tragic event. We just want to thank everybody for your continued support, our family and friends back home, our legal team, Sam Aguiar, Lanita Baker, and of course, Ben Crump. We can't thank you enough. And we just want everybody to continue to say her name. And we want to leave y'all with this message from one of our dear fallen kings, brothers, Travis Nagdy. He was killed back in Louisville probably 2 weeks ago, but he was out here on the front line fighting for justice for Breonna Taylor. And if you can take this message, he just wants everybody to keep going. Keep the fight going. Let's make real change in America. Let's start humanizing each other again. And let's just get on the right side of justice and get back on tracks so we can just get back to living amongst each other, just with love, understanding, and just make the world a better place to live. And we thank you all. Thanks for having us. And that's all I have to say.
So this is House Bill 5099, patron Delegate Aird. So first, if you could please deliver this to Breonna's mother, Mrs.
Sure will.
Palmer. Thank you so much.
He's probably watching right now. I got you, sis.
Delegate Aird, thank you so much. And my hand is from you, but I've got one coming. Congratulations. Senate Bill 5030, the patron is Senator Mamie Locke.
She's to your left, Governor.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for being here. And Mr. Crump, please take this proudly to Florida, and thank you so much for being here in Virginia. Please welcome all of them again, and thank you for being here.
Thank you for the leadership and friendship. You want more to say, Governor?